American Veterans of Igbo Descent, AVID, World Press Conference here in Abuja, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, friends of justice, compatriots at home and abroad, we are not here for polite diplomacy. We are here to speak truth to a power that hides behind manners while enabling injustice. This is an indictment not only of Nigeria's persecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but of Britain's deliberate complicity in violating the UN Convention Against Torture in Article 5 to 7 and the Dre Auto Judice principle. Britain has abandoned its own citizens to torture, and history will remember. 4 years of silence, 4 years of complicity. For over 4 years, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been detained after being abducted in Kenya on 27th June 2021.
So I don't know in your own terms how best can you describe British silence over Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's detention. We know, we understand Nigeria is a place where there is no law, where the rule of law does not prevail, where the law is being suspended. Don't forget, Nigeria did not even appear in the top 10 countries that practice justice and practice rule of law in Africa. Nigeria is not even in the 10th position. Nigeria did not pitch. So talking about Nigeria is just waste of time. Let's talk about Britain. Talk about Britain that is going about preaching about the rule of law. Preaching to people that the supremacy of the law must be preserved and respected at all times. Yet they are shying away from their responsibility in defending their own citizen, claiming he is a dual citizen. Being dual citizen does not alienate him from being a British citizen. Being dual citizen does not infringe on his right as a British citizen.
This was not an arrest. It was a kidnapping, violating Kenya's sovereignty under Article 2, subsection 4 of the UN Charter. The African Charter was violated. The UN Convention Against Torture was violated. As the UK Supreme Court ruled in Belhalf versus Straw 2017, rendition is a violation of international law and fundamental rights. Britain's response with a question, a whisper for clarification. Britain's silence is not golden. It is crimson with complicity. From Britain to today, the blood-red thread. The silence continues Britain's policy towards the Igbos from 1967 to 1970. You armed Nigeria and ignored the starvation of millions. Half a century later, that policy is unchanged. Britain's betrayal of the Igbo did not end in 1970. It simply changed uniform. In October 2021, British consular officials visited Kanu. Days later, Nigeria amended charges, dropping reference to London broadcasts. Coincidence? I don't think so. This coordination violates the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, Article 5, and the ICCPR, Article 14. Britain didn't just look away, it helped script the persecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Let's get to the dual citizenship excuse. Britain claims he is also Nigerian. Our hands are tied. International law disagrees. The ICJ in Nottingham, 1955, genuine citizenship triggers protection. UK Consular Guidance 2023, Section 3, Subsection 1, assistance is mandatory irrespective of dual nationality. El Salvador versus UK, ECHR 2016, denial of consular access violates Article 3. Dual nationality is not a death sentence unless Britain makes it one. Britain's endorsement of travesty. Britain endorses double jeopardy, violating ICCPR Article 14, subsection 7. Charges under repealed laws, breaching ICCPR Article 15. A Supreme Court defying precedent, Faran versus Mubike 2022. Britain would never accept this for a British citizen in Europe. But for an Igbo man in Africa, in Nigeria, it is business as usual. Protecting the colonial Frankenstein. Why? Because Kanu challenges the artificial state Britain built in 1914, because he's an Igbo man, and Britain's record is of suppression. Britain is still protecting the Frankenstein it built in 1914, even if it means destroying its own citizens. The issue of this charge is not acquittal. That's a lie from the pit of hell. After the Court of Appeal discharged Kanu in 2022, Britain whispered, this charge is not acquittal. This is false. Fallacy. Adetona versus IGP 2020, this charge was acquittal. Unison versus Lord Chancellor 2017, governments must uphold the rule of law. Britain supplied a lie that keeps Kanu in chains. The present danger. Kanu's health is failing. Under Article 12, ICESCR and Dixon versus UK, ECHR 2007, Britain must intervene medically Failure makes it complicit in debt. If Kano dies, Britain will not be an observer. It will be an accomplice. Our demands. We demand Britain, number one, to publicly condemn the rendition by El Masari versus Macedonia 2012. Number two, we demand immediate release by ICJ Diola case 2010. Number three, launch a parliamentary inquiry into Vienna Convention breaches. Number four, end diplomatic cover violating erga omnes human rights obligations. A government that claims to defend human rights must start with its own citizens. If Britain claims to be a nation of law, act like it. Stop hiding behind selective morality. Silence is not neutrality, it is complicity. If Nnamdi Kanu dies in detention, his blood will be on Britain's hands. Under Article 2 ECHR, the Igbos will remember. The world will remember.
You had it all. British government are accomplices to this very act of criminality, to this act of impunity on the part of Nigerian government. Their silence is not like obedience to the law. Under British constitutional practice and international law, the state owes a duty of diplomatic protection to its citizens, no matter where they are in the world. That very duty is rooted in Magna Carta Principle 1215, the foundation of British constitutionalism, which insists on liberty and protection against unlawful detention. Habeas Corpus Act 1679, the most famous guarantee against arbitrary detention, which Britain prides itself on exporting worldwide. The same thing they are preaching across the globe, the same thing they are going everywhere as British, a country that obeys the rule of law, supports rule of law, advocate for democracy, advocate for everything that is constitutionally backed. Yet they are the same people defaulting their own constitution, neglecting the law which they uphold so strong. Is that not irony? Is that not act of betrayal? UK Human Rights Act 1998, incorporating the European Convention on Human Rights, requires the government to defend citizens against torture, inhuman treatment, and unlawful detention. The same act that Nigerian government is practicing against their own citizens, the so-called British government, the so-called law-abiding nation of Britain, and they are condoling it because Nnamdi Kanu is an Igbo. Customary international law on diplomatic protection, a state has the right and arguably the duty to intervene when its citizen or its national is unlawfully treated abroad. So when Britain ignores Nnamdi Kanu's detention, despite him being a British citizen, claiming that Nnamdi Kanu is also a Nigerian citizen, it is not just moral silence, it is a constitutional betrayal of his own legal tradition. Britain is acting as if order comes before justice, so it bows to Nigeria's sovereign power. I must tell you, their silence is indefensible. Law without justice is not law, and Britain is bound to defend its own citizens, irrespective of politics. Therefore, their silence is not neutrality, it is active complicity, because I don't know how it got to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The law has to be suspended. Their own constitution, their own unbreakable constitution has to be suspended. Now, they are respecting Nigeria as an entity, the sovereign state of Nigeria, while disobeying their own law. According to Hobbes, law has to be obeyed at all costs. The law must be obeyed at all costs. So, irrespective of whatever the sovereignty they are protecting, the law of Britain stipulates that they must protect their own citizens wherever they are. It is their constitutional duty to defend their own citizens. So I don't know, in your own terms, how best can you describe British silence over Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's detention? Thank you so much. Please share your own thoughts and views in the comment section, and do not forget to share the video for other people to see it. And if it is your first time coming across my videos, I plead with you to follow my page and subscribe. God bless.